This is the OBAs podcast, the King's podcast.
You don't realize how long-winded I am.
Yeah. You won't believe it, but sometimes I have to like do a whole 1 hour prep before this.
Really?
Yeah. Annie, thank you so much for showing up today. How you feeling?
Feeling good.
Yeah? Yeah. Do you want to pull the mic a bit closer to you? Yeah, and then extend it. Yeah, more. Yes. Yep. Do you know one thing? I realized, so we met maybe like 2 months ago. Like we've seen in Sauna. The last time I saw you, actually properly introduced myself to you. But I say this to say that I don't know your last name.
Oh. It's Wrathall.
Wrathall? Rawtho?
Wrathall.
Wrathall. Oh, that sounds like a Viking name. Wrathall. Yeah. Like he belongs in a movie. Yeah, thank you for sharing up, Annie. Let's start with what I would call one of my biggest fears. And maybe you know what I'm referring to, but it's a majestic animal. And it's horses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if my phone is not close by, but I was going to show you a picture that I took. Maybe this was 2 years ago. It was in Victoria here, and it was the first time I ever visited a stable.
Yeah.
And I was shitting my pants. I was terrified, and finding out that you actually work with horses.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, and what would you recommend for me to actually deal with?
Like deal with your fear?
Yeah.
The biggest thing, horses sense everything.
Yeah.
And they're an animal that's always in the earth, so they're so grounded, so they feel every subtle energy that comes from your body.
Okay.
So just trusting in them that you're going to be safe when you're around them. Like if you're near them and there's a fence between you, just allowing yourself to just be there and have them explore you with their nose, like smell you and just sit in their presence, and that helps with a lot of fear.
Okay.
Because they're sentient beings, I think. It's like sentient beings. Yeah. Like they're very peaceful, and they're just like a big dog.
So how important is nonverbal cues to them? Like
the most important.
Do you have to look them in the eyes? Do you have to?
Working with them, I've been around them my whole life. I'm learning more their language. I work with dogs, but it's very similar in not making direct eye contact. That's always in the animal world. That's always an aggressive kind of thing. So like soft eyes, soft body posture, but being firm in yourself. So not being shallow and sunken. Okay. Because then you're weak. Yeah. But just being solid but soft.
Yeah. My experience with them, like the first time I saw one up close. Yeah. Was just like I was just in awe of like how muscle they are. Yeah. Like it just feels like this is an animal that if he or she decides, they could just like knock me over, like run me over very easy.
That's the beautiful part, is when you interact with them, they're choosing to allow you into their space. So whether you're riding them or just being near them, it's a gift from them that they're like, I trust you to be with me. Because they don't have to. There's nothing.
They don't have to.
They don't have to, but they're choosing to give that to you.
Yeah. Yeah. How long have you worked with animals in general?
My whole life.
Oh yeah?
Like in one aspect or another, whether growing up on farms, being around them. I used to sneak into my neighbor's barn. He had dairy or beef cows. Yep. And I would sneak in, I would groom all his animals, the cows, and I would just be with them steady. So my whole life I've worked with them in one manner, trying to train them or sitting for hours trying to do telepathy with the dog. Any way to learn their language and communicate I was trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So is your love or your passion, is that more animals in general, or are you probably you work with dogs and you work with horses.
Yeah, and people. I think I have a passion in understanding the mind and the way we communicate and interact. So whether it's animals or humans, it's that behind all the masks, getting to that. And animals don't have masks. They're so good at communicating, and that's why I like to work with them more so, because they just are as they are. There's nothing hidden.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I did ride the horse when I was there. Yeah. It was a very weird feeling. Yeah. I don't know how best it is. I haven't really. I know you can ride things like camels. Yeah. So do you ride them as well? Yeah. The horses.
I do. I grew up mainly bareback, and now I've been learning English.
So that's bareback. That's without like the saddle.
Without the saddle, and just putting a bridle. And even then, sometimes when we were little, we would just have a halter and baler twine. Yeah. And create kind of reins to steer the horse. Yep. And now my daughter and I have been showing her kind of liberty work. So now her biggest fascination is bareback, just the halter. Sometimes no halter and just holding on to the mane.
Can she ride?
Yeah.
How old is your daughter?
She's 8. She's a great rider.
Oh my God. When did she start riding?
She was around 4.
No way.
Yeah. And she's seeing the difference of like putting a saddle on. Even me, I'm a bit awkward. Like I get it, but there's a lot of tools that you need to learn to use with saddle and bridle. But bareback, you're communicating through your body. So you have a thought, like I want to go that way, and instantly your body naturally will
tilt that way.
Start directing, like it will put more pressure on one side, and you'll start guiding the horse once you're attuned to it. Yeah. And that's what my daughter, I'm showing her, and her confidence has tripled just by going bareback without all the tools and just being in tune with the horse.
But in teaching her, you first had to teach her with the saddle, or?
Out here to ride, because we were using other people's horses, they wouldn't do bareback. Like they weren't allowing it just because of their own discomfort, because there's more risk. Like if a horse runs, you're going to fall off quicker bareback than if you have a horn or something to hold on to. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. I'll revisit my fears. I think they're actually absolutely majestic. Yeah. So like actually when I did meet the horse, I was more in awe of them, but I could not fight the fear. Yeah. Like my heart was literally racing, and just like you said, like in some way I felt the horse could sense it. Yeah. And maybe that way it didn't trust me.
It can, because if you're tense, they're gonna say something's wrong. I'm supposed to trust in this, but the energy is very tense. Yeah. Well, I'm getting a horse. It's supposed to be coming Friday, so once I get her, you're invited to come out and.
What does that mean when you say you're getting a horse? Like you're gonna have
buying, buy my daughter a pony. Okay. And she's quite green still, so we're gonna work with her and.
So will you be buying like a baby or like?
No, she's a 3-year-old, but she's not going to be a big horse. She's going to be like a pony size. Like she stands just below my shoulder. Her withers.
How many animals do you have?
I just have 2 guinea pigs right now. And then this horse will.
Would you consider yourself more a dog person or a cat person?
Dog.
Dog?
Yeah. I have a healthy respect of cats at a distance. Okay. I've worked with them and they're,
Have you, I'm just thinking about any more animal question I could throw at you. Have you seen a live, like a bigger cat in person?
Yeah.
You have?
I have throughout my life. My daughter and her friend and I came across a cougar once. Okay. And then when I was younger, there was a cougar in the yard when we were playing, me and my brother. And I've seen them like in zoos and stuff too. Yeah. But there's just something dealing with house cats and grooming them and stuff, working with them, how wild and aggressive they can be. I have a huge respect for bigger. Like if a 5-pound animal can injure me, then a 100-pound animal, I'm not even going to mess with.
Yeah. And I think that's so. I'm not a big animal person generally, but I think I have a closer demeanor to dogs than cats, just because where I come from, cats are looked at as more dark energy. Yeah. Like a cat can easily be referred to as a witch. Yeah. And like where I come from. So like my idea of cats are usually, oh my God, that could fucking be my great aunt who is who does not wish me well, basically. Yeah. But that's all like superstition. But I say that to say that dogs I'm a bit more receptive to. And even though like I didn't grow up with either like animals in general, like coming here and seeing how much of a culture it is owning animals, especially dogs and cats. Like almost every friend that I have who has been around here for a while either has like a dog or a cat. And there's a dog park which is pretty close to here, which I go all the time just because I like chilling at the park. And like every time I'm forced to interact with dogs, and I'm like, I'm not used to this. But
well, and two, when you were talking about the energy of the cat and the dark energy, and then dogs having lighter energy, it's like if you think of the masculine and feminine, dark energy is often considered like the female energy. Like we carry that dark energy, very much like cats. And then dogs, like even they talk about horses, the mares, like she's not going to let shit pass. But then the gelding, the male, he's just kind of like a bro. He's like, hey, what's up? And that's with dogs, right? Like they're a more relaxed energy versus the feminine energies a little more. By nature, we have to be more aware, more guarded.
Because you're
like the cat. And
let's talk about something else that I think is more interesting. When we talked about energies, I'm like, yo, let's talk about mushrooms. So I heard you in the sauna one day talk about your psychedelic experiences. So let me start with, when was the last time you had a trip?
I can't even remember. It's been quite some time now. Like it's been a few months.
A few months?
Yeah.
Yeah. And was it a mushroom trip? Was it
mushroom trip? Yeah.
Yeah. So I am very interested in mushroom trips because the last time I had one, this was probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was about 4 grams, which most people would consider enough for a lift off.
Yeah.
And it was a lot. It was a lot. So what would you consider good pointers to kind of guide in your trip? To, some people say they have bad trips, some people have good trips. And for me, I would say my trip started as a bad trip. So when I took the 4 grams, I took it in a smoothie. It was a blended smoothie. For like the first 30 minutes, nothing. And then I just felt a wave. Yeah. And for the first 1 minute of that wave, I was almost panicking. Yeah. And eventually I kind of settled into it, and then it became better, but it was just me and my buddies goofing around. Yeah. And none of us knew any better. Yeah. So what would you consider a good approach to having these experiences?
I think for me, I've got into it using it to heal. So it was all for healing purposes, not necessarily for pleasure.
Yeah.
I think set and setting is really important. Trusting the medicine. So anytime people are asking, I always say, like, if you're going to take a large dose, take a small dose prior, so then you can trust in the medicine. Okay. So the mushroom, my beliefs is that there's wisdom coming through it. So if you take a small dose and just kind of always offer gratitude for what's going to come through you. Because for whatever reason, there's so much wisdom in it that if you test it first, trust in it that, okay, nothing bad happened. Then when you take a larger dose, trust that anything coming through is meant for you. So whether we call a bad trip, often they feed off the energies that are within us. So if we have trauma or life experiences, it may not come out in that memory, but the fear or the emotions will arise. And that's where trusting in it, that this is serving a purpose, it's releasing it, it's giving me guidance. And then there can be light days too, or light emotions, like it will fluctuate sometimes. But more is making sure you're in a safe space with people that are safe and you trust your medicine, and then you can flow through the darkness and all the scary things that arise, and then afterwards integrating whatever came up. So like having a thought, sometimes I keep a journal next to me when I've gone through them, because strange things, like I had one journey where I was in a circus and there was things all around me and things are hitting me and I'm like trying to get out, and it kept repeating, you bring the circus to your own life. And I was like, I need to get out, and it just kept saying, you're bringing the circus. And when I finished and integrated or like thought about everything, I was like, my life is, people are in it that don't serve me well, that are causing me stress, and I brought it myself. And that's what I hadn't seen it until it was shown to me in that manner of like, stuck in a circus.
Yeah. I think that's another important piece, which is integrating your experience.
Yeah.
So do you recommend doing that whether you consider it a good trip or a bad trip? And would you say a bad trip is a reflection of maybe something that might be off in maybe what you're doing or something you need to figure out?
Yeah. Because anything that's meant to come through, it's waiting, and the mushroom just opens your heart to it. Because I find mushrooms are very heart medicine, and so I've experienced where I took 1 gram and it was hours of suffering. And then I was done. I was like, man, this is enough. And then I've taken 4 or 5 grams and nothing. And I'm like, I just feel light and ease. And that's when I stopped kind of doing them. Is like, I was like, okay, I think I've kind of passed where I've needed this medicine because it's not bringing up all the stuff that it used to. And now it's just ease. And then what am I doing that for?
Yeah.
Like, I already have pleasure in my life. So this isn't a needed tool for me.
Yeah. How important is where you are in life before doing a trip? Like, cause I do believe that it's important to integrate, like to take back, and maybe sometimes your trips can give you pieces of information that you're blindsided to, and then you actually benefit from it. But if I'm in a bad space, and like maybe I just broke up, would you recommend, like if I'm in an obviously bad place physically, would you recommend still trying to have like a trip? And because to me that would seem like a recipe for a disaster.
It would be the intention behind it.
Okay.
I believe that, like, to me, any psychedelic is medicine, and there's teaching behind it. So if someone's using it to escape, I would never recommend it, because you're not going to numb it out.
Yeah.
It's going to bring everything up. And if you're not in the mental space to be like, you're like just trying to forget about, what just happened, you won't. And then it can cause further trauma. And then it can put you into a space where you're worse off than you were prior.
It probably shouldn't be an escape.
No, I never.
Because you're not gonna get the escape you think you're looking for,
and you're re-traumatizing yourself.
Yeah, it might bring it right to your forefront.
Yeah.
Which then begs me to ask, so I think with mushrooms, the intensity of the trip that you get is not so heavy. Have you done anything heavier? And by that I mean maybe DMT.
I haven't tried DMT. I've considered for years. I started getting into psychedelic therapy with the thought of going to ayahuasca and just really unraveling some deep stuff. But I don't have the calling anymore. Like, there's not this urge. Yeah, so I haven't gone deeper to like DMT or peyote or any of those. Is
that something you have on the bucket list, quote unquote? And I'm asking because I want to. So I've never tried ayahuasca, and one of the reasons is because of the experience that I got from mushrooms. Yeah. Like, to me, it was quite intense, like what I experienced from mushrooms. And based on people's experiences, what I hear from ayahuasca is that it's more immersive than mushrooms. And
I think it's all the intent. Is, do you want to heal? Do you have big things that you need healing? Or is it just for the experience? And using those, Yeah,
but so you say that though, and in my head, there's a curiosity part, which is not specifically about healing, that just makes me want to do it because I want to experience what it feels like.
But the only thing keep in mind is you'll never be who you were prior. So are you ready?
So it's going to change me.
You'll always change after a journey. And it may be just subtle things. Something like ayahuasca, though, it's life-changing, where people, have left their careers, have left the whole life they created and changed everything. And so it's, are you ready to take that step? Because there's always... It's not like just smoking pot here and there. It's, are you ready to say goodbye to this version of you and become something different? So
I feel the how heavy it is, which is why I haven't done it. So how, like you said, you don't feel the calling to do it. So that's also what I haven't. So I know that it's something I would like to experience, but I also know that it's spiritual. I know that it's not it's not, for lack of a better term, it's not normal. It's not something I can just walk into with like
walk away the same.
Yeah. So I know that I would walk away from it with like almost like a spiritual awakening, whatever that is in my journey.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, am I ready for it?
I know. And some of the teachers that I listen to and talk with, they talk about you're going into another realm, like with ayahuasca, you're opening your energetic self to different dimensions. And whether people believe that or not, if we think of us as all energy, we can take energy back with us. And I've heard stories of people going on these journeys and coming back and being in deep psychosis, being violent and angry where they weren't before. And so it's what did they bring back? And then they have to go back into it and have like a shaman or someone guide and remove that energy or entity that attached to them. So it gets like in the psychedelic world, it gets
let's talk about this dimension piece, because I want to get into it a little bit. Do you think, because I think about it like a different space, you know how we actually live in this world, and we have access to this world. So I feel like the psychedelic realm is basically like its own realm, and just like you said, but I haven't explored it to the extent of thinking about it as energies from that realm attached to you maybe in some way, and then maybe you need to go back and have someone guide you through maybe removing that energy or getting something better or a different energy to stick onto you. But when I had mushroom trip, it kind of felt something like that, where it's like I felt like I was going to a space that I didn't exactly know or understand the rule set of how it works. And it did feel like certain things were looking at me, and certain beings or whatever were kind of like pointing, like, are you compatible with me? You know how like in this world we like go about our day to day and we're meeting people, and you're more or less in conversating with people, you're just trying to find out like, do we have similar values? Do we have the same energy? Do we have a middle ground? And it kind of felt that way, in that like some beings or whatever were kind of trying to latch on to me, and we're basically trying to prune them like, oh, can you mingle with me, or would you be receptive to me, that kind of thing.
That's kind of interesting and spooky at the same time.
Yes. But it's just like, it's one of those things in a weird way, I don't know how to explain it, but that is one of the things I felt from my mushroom trip that I feel like I don't understand, which is making me hesitant to go deeper to like maybe like an ayahuasca experience. Because I'm like, what exactly is happening in these realms? Because it's not nothing.
No, it's something, and it's something you can only talk with people who've experienced it. Because when you talk to someone who's never used psychedelics or had that experience, then they're just like, whatever. I smoke pot, I never experienced that. But anyone who's done mushroom journeys or different kind of medicines, they've all experienced like there's energies out there, and there's, that other dimension of life.
Okay. I mean, how often, and do you even think about it as something that should be like a schedule? Like, do you think about how frequently or infrequently you use psychedelic substances, or you basically alter your physical state of being?
What do you mean by alter? Do I think when I should alter, or?
Okay, so this is what I mean. So I'm like, do you try to take mushrooms every 3 months, every 6 months, or do you not even think about it in that way?
I don't even think about that, because I use it for like healing. Often it's been, and it was for about 4 years. I went through a really dark time where every day was like, you get through today, one more day, 1 foot over the next. And that's where I was using it quite frequently, because I could feel the effects of, okay, it's getting easier to get going every day. It's when there's a block in my body that's beyond my knowing, that instead of turning to like friends or people for advice, I'm like, I have the wisdom in me. Like, I trust that I have my whole life, that the knowledge is here. I need to go inward and find the answers. And so, sometimes it could be 3 times in a month. Other times, 6 months, nothing. And it's just when I need to find the answers to something I can't just come up consciously with.
Okay, that's interesting. So you more or less use it as you wait for your body to give you a cue to when you need it, or maybe what you're going through as a cue. And the reason why I ask that is because in my world a little bit, some people in martial arts use it, they do like a micro dosing, almost like say every day. And the idea behind that is that they believe that the little bit of a better state that they're in with the micro doses allows them to assimilate better. So maybe when we're doing training, when we're drilling, it's almost like a sixth sense for them. And then for those people, it's like they have it on like a schedule, and it's like maybe 0.2 milligrams every day for maybe a week, and then cycle off another week. So some people have like routines and stuff where
and in training that makes sense, because in training everything is on like a schedule, because you've got a goal you want to meet. And that's really good, because it does open you up to being more aware. Like you gain that sixth sense. So if you're training and you're working and interacting with bodies in martial arts, then having that, like, you've got an open heart and you're just more aware. And so it makes sense they would use it. And to overcoming the physical thoughts, because we live in a world where it's a negative, and it's always like, you know, if maybe you see a competitor that is a little bit better versed in something, when you're on mushrooms, you're like, he may be versed in that, but whatever the medicine does, it gives you the confidence to be like, but I know me, and I know how I can match that and overcome it.
One key thing, which is kind of similar to what you're saying, is that people who do that claim that it melts their ego more, and then allows them to actually. So because usually when we drill, when we're rolling, you always end up, if you're good or not good, someone is usually smashing you. So in those moments where you're suffering, I can see how being on some sort of micro dose kind of allows you to ease into it and maybe actually learn from it the way you're supposed to, rather than just allowing your maybe confidence or your self-image to get in the way. Because we have, like, you know, belts and like, a white belt or a blue belt and, like, you know, different ranks. There's so many things that happens in my mind, I know, when I'm at the gym, that, and for me, I fight that with being high. So I like to like smoke cannabis before my training, and it eases me a little bit. And it stops my mind from racing. It allows me to ease up, because in a weird way, I'm also like socially awkward. So I'm always a mess when I get to the gym, but I really find that when I smoke, and so I don't smoke too much, it goes a long way. But I think about that in like extending that to mushrooms. Like, maybe that could help me, but it's just one of those things that I look at and like, oh, this, I got to explore this. I got to understand myself better and see how these substances work for me, and decide if this is something I want to incorporate or not.
I think I'm very pro psychedelics. And like you said on the ego, dissolving the ego some. Ego gets us where we want to go. It's really good. But when we get there, in order to learn, we need to not be defensive. And when our ego kicks in, then we get defensive. So if you're rolling and stuff, you need to be able to learn, and the ego can't be there.
No.
It's got to be open.
Yeah, so cool. Let's talk about something else. Oh my God, this might be the last thing. What would you consider? Don't let this throw you off. What would you consider to be the secret to being a hot mom? I ask this question because I think this is very much overlooked today. You know, being a mom and being immensely attractive. I also ask this question because my wife, we just got married in April. Obviously, we'd love to have children. I know she's gonna listen to this. I'm not being misogynistic, but I need her to remain beautiful, and I know it's possible.
I think the biggest thing, like what we perceive when someone's hot or beautiful, it's what's inwardly, it's coming out. Because someone could be attractive, but they're not beautiful. Because they don't love themselves, they don't have that inner love. And so when you're a mom or a parent, you get so much love from your child, and they're teaching you so much that if you take that and turn that into magic, like you take their lessons, then maybe the beauty just comes through that. Because then you love life and you love the lessons you're learning. You've got your little teacher with you, mirroring all your faults And then you just build confidence through all there. Yeah.
How much does, because I know, which is where we met, I know you go to the sauna a lot.
Yeah.
I think that plays a really key role in de-stressing.
Yeah.
What tools do you think you use as your form of de-stressing?
The sauna and steam room, 100%. Because when I go in, if I'm carrying anything like stress, I always, when I sit down, I just kind of close my eyes and I'm like, I let everything go. Like I'm going to sweat it out. And I just create ceremony. I create ceremony in a lot of things I do. And I find that just by
I like that you say that.
Imagery
I like that you say that.
It's like letting go. It's like giving a story for your body to then hand it over to something beyond yourself.
Yeah.
And that's made life so easy. And so when I go to the sauna and steam, if I had a hard day, then I'm like, I just let this go to something beyond myself.
So you consciously tell yourself a story.
All the time.
And so before walking the sauna, you prep your mind. And while you're in there, while you're sweating, you're thinking about, I'm letting go of all the baggage.
And I send it down into the earth. And I've done that for years. So now I don't even think about it. I just go in and it naturally starts doing it.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to carry it because something beyond me can carry all that. Because there's no point in carrying any hardships or sadness because it doesn't serve us.
That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that because I tell myself stories all the time. Even though it's not as structured as the way you put it, but when I go into the sauna, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm not gonna leave here the same way I came in. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know how much. Of course, there's some truth to that because I'm literally sweating. So yeah, but I think so. But what else do you do? Do you do anything else? You're so hot. I mean that respectfully. Do you run? I
run. I like to I've started getting into triathlons and I'll like train for them. I just like the training process.
Okay.
So I run, I cycle, I swim now. It's a new thing since March. And then ride horses. Yeah.
That would do it.
Yeah. And then I'm on my feet all day too. And I'm a lazy cook. So I eat only because I have to live. So it's very much like a lot of fat and meat.
Yeah.
Because then I can go longer without having to cook.
Yeah. I really, really do appreciate your time. Thank you for making time from work in the middle of your day.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, to come here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
People, to support this podcast, if you want, order the best pepper in the business from Pepper Them. Yes, Sea Spice Pepper Them. I'll put the link somewhere. And for bracelet, things around your arm. Bye, people.
Is it your company, the pepper?
No, it's actually, the pepper is my wife's company. Yes, it's my wife's company.
This is the OBAS podcast, the King's podcast.